and this is in response to the coronavirus, and we're going to be giving you some updates. This is a follow-up to one we did on Saturday, and tonight we are joined by a panel, and the panel includes Dr. Jim Sorensen, who is chair of the Plymouth School Committee. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks to be here.
We also have a number of people who are Zooming in on our panel. We'd like to welcome Melissa Arrighi, our Plymouth Town Manager, and also Kevin Canty, who is chair of the Advisory Finance Committee, Amy Naples, who is the Executive Director for the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to ask everybody to mute your mic while we do the beginning, and then when you speak, if you can unmute your mic. We're also going to be joined by Representative Matthew Muratori, and we have the Committee of Precinct Chairs. The reason why we're doing this in this format is we're trying to show that it is possible to have a meeting of about 20 people, and yet I'm only joined here by one person in the studio. And so we're going to try to make this a little interactive. It is an experiment. We're told that it depends on the location of the people participating as to whether or not you're going to have a good Wi-Fi. You might get dropped off. So we hope that it'll work. We want you to put on your camera and also when you call using your internet audio. So at this time, now that we've welcomed the panel and we see Matt is up there and he has joined us, we have our panel, and we're now going to go through the Committee of Precinct Chairs. And I'd like to ask, as I go through the list, if you can just answer if you've joined us. And also, our first part is going to be with Jim and schools. So if you have a question, just let me know you have a question and we'll come back to you.
Hey, Stephen?
So, yes, wrestling?
Everyone's on mute.
You might ask people to turn down their television so that you don't get
All right,
the
so
blowback.
wrestling suggesting, and wrestling is our computer guru. So wrestling is saying, if you have a television on, please turn it off or turn it down. And mute your mic unless you're speaking. So anyway, and people may be joining us, but we've got a good group here. We're certainly well beyond the numbers in the studio. So I'm going to start Precinct 1. Christine Pratt, are you on? Christine? Okay. I don't hear her. Michael Leary, Precinct 2. Jerry Sirico, Precinct 3.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Jerry, welcome. Glad you're here.
How you doing?
Good. Nice to hear from you. Precinct 4, Wrestling Brewster.
5.
Oh, Precinct 5, I'm sorry. Claire Montanari, Precinct 4. Is Claire here? Okay. Yes, Claire?
I am.
Good. We can't see you, Claire. If you can kind of put your picture up. They say put your camera on and call using internet audio, but we can hear you. Wrestling Precinct 6, Precinct 5. And then Precinct 6, I know we have Cheryl. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Cheryl's Precinct 6. Precinct 7, do we have Mark Schmidt?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Mark, we can't see you either. We can see that you're on your iPhone, but if you can turn on your video. But we're going to go on Precinct 8, Catherine Holmes. Okay, Precinct 9, Francis Lydon.
I'm here.
Okay, we can't see you either, so if you can turn your video on, but thank you. Precinct 10, we know we have Alan Costello.
Thank you.
Precinct 11, we have Ron Riley. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Stephen. I'm here. Thank you.
Good. Precinct 12, Betsy Hall, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Precinct 13, Michael Landers. Don't know if we have Mike here, but Precinct 14, we have Karen Keene. Karen?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I know. We saw you earlier. I don't see your video, but I see you up there. And Precinct 15, do we have Mike Hanlon? Okay. So we definitely have a quorum of precinct chairs. So we're going to begin. And at this time, we're going to start with Jim Sorensen. Welcome, Jim, and go ahead.
Well, Steve, thank you very much. I'm glad everybody's here. I have a school committee meeting tonight, so I'll probably be cutting out in the middle of this broadcast. So let me say a couple of things about where we are in schools regarding the virus. As everybody knows, our planning reopening date right now is April the 7th. And between now and April the 7th, all activities, all athletic events, all gatherings have been canceled. I feel particularly bad about that because Friday night and Saturday night was supposed to be Plymouth North High School's Addams Family production, which they all practiced all year long, and I'm hoping we can get that rescheduled. Let me say that about 3 weeks ago, we brought together all our department heads and all our curriculum coordinators and all of our central office people to develop online curriculum. We saw this coming, but things happened real fast last week, so we weren't able to roll it out. We will be rolling it out this Wednesday in its first iteration of having to have education continue online. Of course, DESE is not going to recognize that education as anything substantial, but we believe it's important for our students to sort of keep their brains moving along during this hiatus from education. So that particular curriculum online is going to be every subject level at the secondary level and every grade level, and that will be rolled out this Wednesday. Now, we did a survey a few years ago about how many of our families have internet access, because that becomes a problem right now. And we know that about 92 to 95% of all of our families have internet access. So knowing that, we are going to also be developing a distribution center for our Chromebooks. Again, this was supposed to be done last week, but things happened quickly and we haven't got that established just yet. But those families that have access to the internet but only have their phone, we believe the phone isn't good enough. We're going to try to sign out the Chromebooks to those students so they can follow the curriculum along that line. Two other things that I want to say relative to the closing. We have a lot of students who have their medication distributed at school. Their medications are still in the school. So we're trying to set up a way by means the parents can come to the school, pick up their medications, and that's being established this week. And there'll be emails sending out to the students and the families, in fact, sending out to them how to come to school and get their medications. And let's see, the last thing I want to say about where we are is we have one school that's dedicated as a meal school, and that's the Hedge School. We serve breakfast and lunch at Hedge. In fact, we serve Hedge School meals all year long, including the summer. During the school year, we serve breakfast and lunch. And once again, here we are. We expected to have that up and rolling. And I would imagine in the next couple of days or so, those parents will be told how to come to school and participate in the meal program that's been going on all year long. They keep telling me to look at this camera, so I'm going to make sure I look at this camera.
Okay. Jim, you have a school committee meeting tonight.
I do.
And what about any school items on the warrant for town meeting?
Town meeting, the school department we have three things. One is the annual budget, which of course is going to be on there through the Finance Committee. We also have to set up a revolving fund for a grant program, which is a pretty boilerplate article. Every once in a while, to handle grant funds, we have to have a revolving fund for that. And of course, we have our CIC projects that will be also presented at town meeting. But those are the three things that we're focused on.
So in addition to the Committee on Precinct Chairs and our panelists, this is coming to you live on PACTV on March 16th at 6 o'clock. And we welcome the public and also those of you that want to stream online at pactv.org. However, this particular interactive part of the meeting is going to be between the panel and the Committee on Precinct Chairs. And we're doing that because it's an informational meeting. We've set it up for this one way, and we're trying to mirror how a municipal board or committee could meet. In fact, all of you who are committee chairs could do this for caucuses. You could all stay at home and caucus for town meeting. So, having said that, I'd like to go through and see if anybody has a question for Jim before he leaves. I'm going to start with the people that I can see on screen. So maybe raise your hand. Does anybody have a question? Any people that are watching for the Committee on Precinct Chair, can you raise your hand? Okay, I can't see anybody raising your hand. Of the remaining people, Claire and Linda and one or two others, Do any of you have a question? You'll have to unmute your phone in order to ask a question of Jim regarding the schools. Does anybody have a question? Okay. I'm not hearing anybody. Oh, wrestling has a question. Wrestling. Go ahead.
Not a question, just a comment. Matt Martori made a really great suggestion about the high school and college kids helping out their neighbors, with, childcare and other things. And I just, I know that Dr. Maesty is going to look into that, but I just think it's now this is something that our community should really step up and help each other.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention it again.
Thank you. Alan Costello, were you raising your hand?
I did not raise my hand. As far as the school goes, I think he answered it. My only question would have been that with the schools closed for the children, would they be closed for the 6 caucuses that we had planned there? But I assume now that that would be true. No caucuses to be held in the schools till at least April 7th. Is that right?
April 7th in terms of caucuses in the school buildings. The other day, Dr. Maestas did say that he would try and accommodate the caucuses to the extent that is possible. So that's what he said on Saturday when we met.
However, the regulations.
I understand.
But Jim, go ahead.
The regulation from the Plymouth Board of Health is no more than 12 people.
Yes.
So if a caucus has more than 12 people, it would have to be done remotely.
Yes. Today, the day we're taping this, the president did recommend 10 people or less, which is why we're doing this. But the other piece is
Somebody's hand is up.
you can actually have your group and then call somebody in to keep it to 10. For example, Matt's there up on the screen. Matt is actually outside this room, and I'm going to call him in a little while because that's what you can all do at your caucuses. You can have the presenters outside the room and call them in one at a time. Somebody else had their hand up. Who is that? If I can look.
Cheryl Fisher, and I was just going to ask Mark Schmidt to relay what he had sent to us today with regards to the schools.
Okay, go ahead.
And that was coming from the schools, again, reiterating the point that it can't be more than 10 people in a room. So we had canceled, we were going to use Indian Brook School, precinct 6, 7, and 9. So just by definition, we couldn't do that. We would, at 9 people per precinct, I mean, we would exceed it right out of the chute. Okay. So it wouldn't even be a matter of presenters. It would just, we couldn't combine.
Yeah. So the studio is asking if you're not talking, mute your phone so we don't get that. So based on what you're saying, however, as you can see this evening, you can easily meet at the school and stay within that limit because you can have people remote. Either they can be at home or they could be outside the room.
In another room.
In another room, which is where Matt is. We've excommunicated him to another room in the studio, but he will be joining us. Any other questions for Jim before he heads out to his school committee meeting? Anybody? If not, I'm going to thank Dr. James Sorensen.
Can't shake hands.
That's right, we can't shake hands. We washed our hands before we got in here. They're clean. There's just the two of us. And thanks, Jim, for joining us. So now we're going to continue. We're going to invite Matt to come in the studio and to join me at the table. And while he does that, I'm going to give some update regarding town meeting. So last Friday, most of you who are precinct chairs know that I did a notice of intent to declare recess and continuance of the special and annual town meeting. Now, that's a lot of legal jargon, but what it really means is that I was letting the community know that we're probably going to continue it. But I didn't actually continue town meeting at that point. Rather, it was giving this notice. Now, the reason I didn't continue it is because under Massachusetts statute, there's a provision wherein the moderator can continue town meeting for up to 30 days. And under that particular statute, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, actually that's the open meeting law, but there's a statute, General Laws, Chapter 39, 10A, where the moderator can do that. And so I was going to wait until April 3rd and then maybe continue it for a month there. However, since Friday, last night, the CDC indicated that they didn't want, their guidelines say not more than 50 people, and they're recommending an 8-week period, which puts us well beyond the 30 days. Today, I was going to do 30 days from today, but we were told that there may be legislation, and that the legislation that may be presented and passed may enable the Board of Selectmen to also continue and for a longer period of time. And Matt's shaking his head, so maybe we'll hear from Matt. And so I want everybody to know in the community and the community precinct chairs that the town leadership has been very good about staying in constant communication with each other and with the state. I've been in regular communication with Select Chair Ken Tavares, with Melissa, who's joined us here, and she'll be speaking momentarily. Also with Dr. Sorensen, Dr. Maestas, and with the state through Matt Muratori. So, Matt, you were shaking your head. What about that change in the legislation?
Yeah, Steve, you're absolutely right. The legislation that's actually going through municipalities now, the Committee of Municipalities, which I am actually a member of, indicates that the Board of Selectmen, if it's going to be after June 30th, would be able to delay town meeting until the next fiscal year. They would also then be allowed to handle their budget in a month-by-month basis as well, going to the next fiscal year. And the other important part about this, and Melissa will be interested in this as well, and I'm sure she's probably already aware, but any funding related to the coronavirus that the town is actually spending would not have to go on the property taxes next year. They'd be allowed to amortize it over a 3-year period. So that's part of this legislation as well. We hope to get this legislation enacted sometime this week, and once we do, we'll be sure to let people know.
And so I can just tell the Committee of Precinct Chairs, following this presentation and tomorrow, I will again be speaking with Ken Tavares, Chair of the Board of Selectmen. They're going to have me participate remotely tomorrow night at their regularly scheduled meeting. And based on what Matt's saying and the legislation not being passed, it may very well be that I'll continue town meeting for 30 days from tomorrow, and then we'll revisit it in 30 days. And based on what we're hearing as of now, most likely it'll be another 30 days based on the CDC guidelines. So that'll give you an overview of town meeting. We're going to come back to all these issues, but at this point, I'd like to move on with the panel. I'd like to next go to Melissa Arrighi, Town Manager. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
What would you like to tell the Committee of Precinct Chairs?
So there are 5 key steps that the Board of Selectmen had working with management. The first is that they had a local state of emergency, which will help us with different, not just funding opportunities, but that will help us partner with other agencies and organizations, including MEMA and FEMA. In addition, we have, as you know, restricted public access to all the municipal buildings in terms of administration. So that is town hall, DPW administration, cemetery, crematory, wastewater treatment plant administrative offices, fire administrative offices, airport administration. You knew about our libraries already, as well as the harbor master, clinical shelter, center for active living, and memorial hall. Now, we are available for service in all those buildings. The access is just restricted to the public. Staff will be in there and they will respond by email, phone, online services. We hope the public really takes advantage of those. We have this opportunity today with Zoom cloud meetings. We're working closely with IT on that. And then one-on-one appointments is a last resort. We've also had to implement some restrictions on inspection, where staff would be going directly into somebody's home to do an inspection. We've also responded to the government suspension of certain provisions of open meeting law by implementing public meeting process and protocols. You see that today. We're really hoping that all of lead by example with it. Remote participation, really encourage that video participation. I think it will help make others more comfortable with it, even though, as Wesley says, there will be some hiccups. In addition, the selectmen have joined management in closing playgrounds. However, at this time, the skate park and some of our other parks, or all of our other parks, are still open because we know that there are many of those who feel better being out in the fresh air. So for now, that is the situation with our parks. And then finally, the last step is that the Board of Selectmen and management will continue to partner very closely with our Board of Health, Public Health Director, BID, Public Safety, our schools, technology, legislative delegation. We know this is rapidly changing and we need to be able to respond to that.
Thank you, Melissa. We're going to be coming back to you, I'm sure, with questions, but I'd like to just kind of move on with the rest of the panel. And I'd like to now welcome and invite Kevin Canty as chair of the Advisory and Finance Committee. Kevin, one of the questions that we received the other day when we did our information forum was, where is the Advisory and Finance Committee in the process of preparing for town meeting? Could you update us?
Sure. So we've concluded all of our articles that are currently ready. As far as I know, that's unless a bargaining unit or something closes and we'd have to revisit it. We were done with everything that was ready to be heard by Advisory and Finance. We may not hear any more articles. We had meetings scheduled for this week and for future weeks in case something came up. It was after the town's directive on Friday. Advisory and Finance Committee has canceled its remaining meetings in March, as well as the meetings on April 1st and April 4th to comply with those directives, as well as the greater directives that everyone's dealing with. The only things that we really have left to do to prepare for town meeting is to approve the last of our meeting minutes for minutes by article. We would have done that this Wednesday at our meeting, but we will do that at some later meeting once we determine when town meeting is going to be held. We could possibly do that via remote meetings like this, since it's a relatively straightforward, non-controversial issue, just approving meeting minutes, so we can put that together. Most of the meeting minutes have already been prepared. The annual town meeting book, the printer has all of that materials. The special town meeting, the recommendations have been completed, but the printer does not have those materials yet. There was a deal that was worked out with them because we had to postpone and to hear some of the special items late due to some CIC issues, as well as the availability of the CPC chair. We had to hear some meetings last week. We had some articles in those that are on the special. So that delayed that process a little bit. I'm not sure when the books will be. The books are going to be sent to you now that town meeting is going to be delayed in one mailing, as opposed to sending annuals in one mailing and the special in a separate mailing. So I'm not sure exactly when that will be completed at this point, but it's just a matter of getting to the printer, getting it back from the printer. I don't know how much, if any, impact this situation is having on the printing process, but that's the status of that. And in terms of preparing for town meeting, we've heard all the articles. We're just waiting for that printing stuff to be done, and then obviously waiting to see when town meeting itself will actually be.
Thanks, Kevin. So Kevin's actually drawn our attention to a couple of good points, which is he said, well, we're going to meet again. We don't quite know when. And I want to, again, remind everybody that's watching as well as participating that last week on March 12th, Governor Baker entered an order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. And specifically, this order issued by the governor suspended certain aspects. The intent was to avoid meetings where the public is in attendance to the extent possible, which is what we're doing tonight. There's just two of us here. Matt and I are having a party. The order allows for remote participation by all members of boards and committees without the need for attendance by the chair or a quorum of the body. And actually, the committee of precinct chairs, you're participating. And Alan, why don't you tell everybody, where are you tonight? I can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Alan, unmute. Where are you, Alan?
I am unmuted.
Go ahead. Now we can hear you. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I'm actually in West Palm Beach, Florida.
All right.
So I can hear everyone pretty well. It's not a bad place to take a meeting.
All right. So you can see the chair of your committee doesn't have to be in the room, And we do have a quorum. Now, the public, under this order, can observe remotely if the technology is available. And we're doing that tonight through PACTV. They can watch on Fios and Comcast and on PACTV.org. But if that weren't available, a transcript of the meeting must be provided, and then that would comply with the open meeting law. So even though you are not subject to it, we're running this as if it were a board or committee that had to comply with the open meeting law, and we're very successfully receiving information. And with this, I'm going to be going to Amy Naples. I just want to begin by saying that what's going on has real-world consequences to all of us in the community, and I'm going to be shifting for a moment to our business community that supports us throughout the year. Last night, my wife and my daughter and her girlfriend were at a local restaurant. And our server was someone that we love, who's been a server there for many years and is our favorite server. And as we were eating, the governor's order came across the TV. And she came back to the table and she burst into tears. She was so upset, not just for herself, not just for her family, but for the 231 employees that are employed by this particular restaurant's company. And so it really had a profound impact on me and my family to see it happening in real time, the upset created by some of the changes. In addition, people are so distracted. In fact, what she did, she charged to my credit card somebody else's meal. She was so flustered by what was going on. But the point is, I happen to have clients that own restaurants. After my meal, I was calling them, I was talking to them about the Chamber of Commerce and suggesting that today they get in touch with Amy Naples. And Amy, welcome. You're our next panelist. What do you have to tell us?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me. Like you said, this is obviously such a huge impact on our economy, our local businesses, particularly restaurants, with the governor's mandate of only providing takeout and delivery. So certainly we have sprung into action and reached out to all of our restaurants, all of our retailers, to find out how we can help support them. Mainly reaching out to see if they're going to be taking advantage of that opportunity to provide takeout and delivery. We've heard from about half that will be providing takeout, local delivery. They're working with Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash. Certainly, curbside pickup is going to be something new that they'll be implementing. But this is such a critical time for us to support our local businesses, whether it be buying gift cards online, purchasing takeout. This is going to have such a huge impact. I received a number of phone calls today as well from restaurant owners crying, what do I do? I've heard from a lot that say that they can't offer the takeout and delivery option because it just doesn't seem feasible. It wouldn't be a good way for them to move forward, which we totally understand. So what we're doing is going to be communicating out to the public and our community how you can support our local businesses. So certainly follow the Chamber on Facebook. We'll be sending lots of email blasts out, but again, we are trying to do everything we can to keep in communication with our members, offer advice, offer online resources. We were thrilled to see Governor Baker announce the $10 million relief fund for Massachusetts for small businesses that will be affected by the coronavirus. So that is great to see. Certainly we'll be communicating that out to our members. We're also strategizing best ways to service our members. We know this isn't just affecting restaurants and retail. This is a huge trickle down effect. You know, it's from the dog walkers, the people that are staying at home and they're not utilizing their dog walkers. So this is far bigger than just our local mom and pop shops downtown and on the waterfront. We'll be providing virtual events, perhaps online cash mobs, very similar to our cash mobs that we go and surprise a business. We're going to encourage people to do online purchases. There are people still working from home that are getting paid, so we encourage you to support the businesses that aren't, that have major closures. So certainly follow us on social media, website. Our offices are closed to the public. However, we are available to any business in town to offer ideas, advice, anything it may be. They can call the chamber. It'll be redirected to my cell phone. I'll be working from home. The entire staff and team is working hard for our business community.
Thanks, Amy. And we're going to continue with the panel and then do some question and answers. Matt, our last panelist, go ahead.
Sure. I just want to, Amy, for your sake too, I'm sure you may have heard this, but for everyone else out there as well, the Small Business Administration, SBA, is going to have loans for small business as well. That website is out there now. People can apply for that. Small business can apply for that as well.
Yes, thank you.
So, Matt, what do you have to offer from the state?
Oh my God, what don't I have to offer? Well, let me just go through this update that just came through from the state. Some things that maybe have not been touched upon. First of all, utilities. There's been a moratorium put on utility companies, so they can no longer, if there were planned shutoffs of places, that's not going to happen anymore.
And is that true for residential and commercial?
Residential and commercial, absolutely. Yep. The Registry of Motor Vehicles. They're going to extend the renewal timelines on certain credentials to reduce the need of customers to physically visit the RMV centers in person. So if you have RMV issues, you might want to look up on the RMV website to see what relief they're actually providing as well. The State House has actually decided to close today at 5 o'clock today. State House will no longer be open as of 5 o'clock tonight for outside people. The trial courts, I think we touched upon this before.
Yesterday, today and tomorrow.
Today and tomorrow, and then they'll open back up on a limited basis on Wednesday. We know about everything is we expect. Everything is we expect. It's such a fluid.
Yeah.
So those are some of the big issues that actually haven't been touched upon. The other stuff has been. So I just really wanted to get that information out.
Good. I'm going to go through, if I might, initially. And I'd like to go through each town meeting member again so that perhaps we can give each of you a chance to give a question or a comment. I don't know if Christine has joined us or Michael, but if not, Precinct 3, Jerry Serco. Jerry, any comments or questions?
No, Steve, I'm enjoying what you're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. All right. Precinct 4, Claire Montanari. Comments?
I'm here. I have no questions.
Okay, thanks, Claire. Wrestling, Brewster, Precinct 5. Wrestling, we can't hear you. Turn on your button, your unmute. Wrestling, we can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself.
He probably is.
Probably
having a problem.
Okay.
Hey there?
There you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Thanks.
My only comment or question is that since we're planning on delaying town meeting, should we plan on rescheduling our caucuses?
That's your choice. I think that's
Okay.
one of the things that we're trying to show tonight is that the town of Plymouth is in business. We're meeting tonight, even though there's a recommendation that we don't gather more than 10 people. And in fact,
Yep.
we're conducting this meeting where there's just 2 people in the room and everybody else is remote. So one of the things we hope to show from this is that you're a precinct chair. You can talk to your precinct by email, by phone, and by video, just like this. And you could have a meeting and you could have them let you know what they want to do. So I think it's up to you. Anything else, Wrestling?
No, thank you, Stephen.
Okay.
Can I chime in on that, Steve?
Kevin Canty, Chair of the Advisory and Finance Committee. Go ahead, Kevin.
So I had produced a schedule to cover the caucuses, as they had currently existed, starting on March 23rd and culminating, I think the last one was on April 2nd. So there were many caucuses scheduled. Some of them are joint, some of them separate. Since this has happened, obviously it's created a lot of disruptions on a lot of fronts. And if it's possible, if you wouldn't mind rescheduling your caucuses to later, I think that would make it easier for certainly our membership, because, we're a volunteer committee. We try and, come to every caucus. We're usually very successful in having 2 members at every caucus, but obviously our membership is dealing with this fallout as well. And we, at this point, the Advisory and Finance Committee would only attend caucuses remotely. That was a directive that we had put forth at the last meeting based on what was known at that time, but that was Thursday, and obviously a lot has changed since Thursday. So if you delayed your caucuses and rescheduled them, it's possible that they could be held either entirely in person or partially in person, which might make it easier to discuss some of the larger issues that we're dealing with, like the budget, the new fire station, some of the other things that may engender more discussion and debate, as opposed to some of the more housekeeping articles, which may have little or no discussion. So, and if you did have your caucuses as they're currently scheduled, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to guarantee that Advisory and Finance would be able to have representation at all those meetings based on what's going on. I don't know what the remote options would be. I'm sure that some of my members have technology that is capable of doing this, but I'm not sure that some of my members have that capability, so some of them may need to be attending via only the old-fashioned telephone on speakerphone.
So Kevin,
but that's at least Advisory and Finance would request that precinct chairs consider rescheduling their caucuses at this time, and then we can regroup and reschedule our participation in those at a later time.
Thank you, Kevin.
That was
and
definitely
certainly,
my point.
if I could just respond, for those of you that don't want to engage in this type of technology, and I would just say that, I'm grateful to the support from all of the PACTV studio people, but there are other apps like freeconferencecall.com where you can just do phone participation. It's very easy. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, we can provide you with the information, and that would be strictly a phone call-in number, and you'd all be able to talk on the phone. Matt Muratori.
Yes, if I may, I wanted to go back to another article that was filed today by the governor, had to do with unemployment. I know a lot of people are concerned with unemployment. The governor filed a bill today in the House and the Senate that would waive the 1-week period of unemployment for people that do have to file for unemployment, so they can get unemployment immediately. And the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development is filing emergency regulations that will allow the employees who are laid off to get the unemployment right away if there are plans to reopen within 2 to 4 weeks. So there is going to be some unemployment relief that will come about in the next couple of days. And on a lighter note, and something for all of us to look forward to, the governor has filed a bill that will move Patriots' Day holiday to September 14th. So once we get through all this, we will still have Patriots' Day holiday in September when the marathon is being held.
Thank you. Moving on, Cheryl Fisher, Precinct 6.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for all this great information. From my perspective as precinct chair for Precinct 6, we were supposed to have our caucus, just a week before town meeting, and it's so unclear, at least to me at this point, and perhaps all of us, as to whether or not town meeting will actually be put off. The sooner we know that, the sooner we can reschedule. And I'm more inclined personally to want to reschedule in April than use any of these technologies we have to, rather than try to do it and then have town meeting not happen 4 days later or something like that. So again, maybe you can clarify, Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
the drop dead point at which we will know whether there will or will not be an April 4th town meeting.
So at this point, the best I can tell you is that based on the CDC guidelines, I think the earliest that we're looking at is mid-May, because the CDC is saying 50 people or less for the next 8 weeks. And if we follow that guideline, we're not going to be doing town meeting remotely because it's too large. I mean, we're talking about doing this remotely for boards and committees, not for our legislature of 135 people. And so plan on mid-May, but it could be later. Tomorrow I'll continue it for 30 days into April, and then we'll have a better idea in April whether or not mid-May is even a realistic possibility.
Thank
Okay?
you very much, and I will consult with the rest of our precinct town meeting members.
Thank you. That was Cheryl Fisher. Mark Schmidt, welcome. Mark, we can't hear you. You got to unmute. Mark? Can't hear you yet. There you go ahead.
Yeah, Cheryl just asked the question and I would have. So you just, she addressed it and you answered it. So
All right.
that would have been my question.
Terrific, Mark. All right, next, do we have Catherine Holmes joining us? Precinct 8. If not, Francis Lydon, Precinct 9. Is Francis here? Okay, if not, we're going to go to Alan Costello, Precinct 10.
Yes, Steve, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, yeah, I want to thank yourself, Mr. Muratori, and all the panel. It is pretty impressive that we can have this type of meeting. However, I'd like to, at least at this stage, make an announcement that I think we should cancel the precinct chairs meeting this upcoming Thursday evening. It hasn't been posted legally, but I think we should cancel it at this time. And I guess my one question to you would be sort of a hypothetical, but when we're allowed to re-enter our lives or re-enter our regular schedule, will you make an announcement at that time, and then we can start the clock to do caucuses and town meeting preview and all of the things that typically lead up to a town meeting?
Absolutely. I think that what you've seen in the past week is that town officials, along with our state delegation, have been working very carefully to try to communicate to the community. And we've done that a number of ways. We've sent emails to those of you who are precinct chairs and town meeting members. We've communicated on radio, in the print media, and certainly also at PACTV. And I'm delighted to tell you that the executive director is right here in the studio, Julie Thompson, and she said that as long as they're able, they're going to continue to work with us. Selectman Tavares suggested at least a half-hour weekly update. So we're going to be working based on the needs of the community and the information as it evolves. We will be coming back to you in all forms of media and communication in order that we can be transparent as possible.
Very good. I appreciate that and all that everyone's done so far. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Precinct 11, Ron Riley. Ron, welcome.
Hi, Stephen. You hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you. Thank you to you, Matt, Kevin, Melissa. Yeah, I agree with the postponing our caucuses. It definitely makes sense. A month or two out, things could change. Certainly makes sense. I don't know if I have any real questions. I'm still trying to, like everybody, trying to absorb what's going on out there. It just, Mayor Walsh closed all job sites, all construction sites tomorrow, about an hour, 2-3 hours ago. So we're all absorbing that at this point because that now affects me. Not to, for just in general, not to minimize, what's going on out there. Because the majority of us, it's a flu-like symptom if we happen to catch this. But I feel that this is almost a test run for the next virus. There will be a stronger one that comes out someday, and it's a good test run in a sense. Again, not to minimize what is happening. Certainly, it's very serious. No, and that I'll keep posted and, yeah, please keep us updated.
Thank you, Ron Riley, Precinct 11. Precinct 12, I'm not sure if it's going to be a dog who's been in the video or Betsy Hall. Betsy, welcome.
I decided to try to lighten up things a little bit. I've got a 3-month-old border collie puppy I'm trying to get to pose for you.
Yes, I can see that.
Not that it isn't very, very serious, but I thought if you could see the face of this sweet puppy, it might bring a smile to your face.
Thank
It's
you.
a lovely time to have a puppy because it does lighten our life. I do have a question. Thank you to everyone who has given us so much wonderful information. My question is, could someone please send us the instructions to how we're going to do our own video caucus? Because I'd like to caucus with my town meeting members in terms of postponing our caucus. So I would like to have someone email me the instructions to how to set up a similar video for my own caucus, for my own precinct.
We can do that. We can certainly provide you. Tonight we're using the Zoom app, but we can also give you the freeconferencecall.com, which would probably be a very easy way to at least have a phone conference.
Yeah, I think most of our people, most of our representatives would be able to do the Zoom. I certainly will check with them before I do that, but I'd love to have the instruction how to do this through Zoom, because I think if we can see each other, it is helpful.
Yes, good.
Otherwise, we'll do the phone call.
Terrific. Thanks, Betsy. Hall, Precinct 12. I haven't seen Mike Landers, Precinct 13, but I know that Karen Keene is among us. Welcome, Karen.
Hello. Hi, Steve.
Hello.
My
and Karen,
question
before
was
you start, I
partially
just
answered
want
by
to...
Alan, and it concerned the presentation forum. I just want to make sure, I had some staff members reach out to me today asking me about that. So are we going to get an email out to staff members to let them know that is indeed been canceled or postponed? And Alan, are you going to do that?
Yes, I'll run it through the assistant town manager who set up
Okay.
a lot of the presenters, but I'll
Great.
make sure everybody gets the word. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. That's it.
That was terrific to watch, Karen, you speaking to your chair remotely and the chair's responding. You're all able to interact. I'd like to give a special shout out to Karen. She was one of our presenters on Saturday when we did the presentation. She is our Director of Public Health in Plymouth, and along with the chairwoman of the Board of Health, they did a wonderful job. They did the second segment. It was 1 hour, and we got a lot of positive feedback afterwards about all of the good information they provided. So, Karen, welcome. Thank you for that. Mike Hanlon, have you joined us? If not, I'd like to go back to the panel one more time. You've had an opportunity to hear from the Committee of Precinct Chairs. I'd like to know if you got any final comments before we wind up before the 7 o'clock school committee meeting. We'll begin with Melissa. Melissa.
Yes, I would love to ask a question. Can I do that?
Go ahead.
Has there been any conversations about, this is Representative Muratori, about postponing the election?
Yes, Secretary Galvin late last week has been talking about actually postponing not just the 4 special elections in the Commonwealth, but also town elections as well. Nothing definite has come yet. No legislation has come before us yet, but we are actually expecting that.
And I'd just like to add that I was talking with Town Clerk by email, Town Clerk Lawrence Pizer, as well as with Town Council, because I believe it's my understanding that as it relates to our town meeting members, if the election is postponed, you would continue to serve until the next election.
That's correct.
So you may not be off the hook in the middle of May this year, for those of you that are going off. So thank you for that question, Melissa. And we'll continue on with our group. Kevin Canty.
Thanks, Steve. I would just like to reiterate that we've done all of the back work and the homework in terms of getting everything done for you that exists now. It's just a matter of waiting for this situation to resolve so that we can have the caucuses, so we can have the meeting. And when we are able to do that, we will do it, and I think everything will work out fine. It's just a matter of sticking with it now and making sure that we take care of the other things in our lives and that this will be here when we're ready.
Thanks, Kevin. Amy Naples?
Yes, the only thing I'd like to add, of course, Matt, thank you for all the updates you give us in regards to what's going on at the State House, and appreciate any more you can share with us as this continues to evolve. Certainly encourage everyone to keep supporting our local businesses during this tough time. We are stronger together, and certainly by working together, we're a strong, resilient community. And we know that we can ask for your help for the support of our local businesses.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy, and certainly all of us in the community that are in business are pulling together. I can just tell you, my staff's been terrific. We got the hand sanitizers going and washing our hands continually and doing what we can, keeping a log of those people that come into our office throughout the day so we can keep track of who's been coming and with whom. And we ask a series of questions before people schedule a time either to come in, and we're offering them both phone contact as well as video contact so they don't have to come in and meet in person. But we're doing all the things that have been suggested as a business, and we're encouraging other business, and so fortunate to have the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce supporting us and all the other businesses in the community. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Amy, you bring up a terrific point. You know, we will get through this as a town, as a Commonwealth, as a country, and as a nation. This is a time for all of us to work together, and particularly as us as public officials, you know, we're putting partisan issues aside and working together on behalf of people. And all of us in our neighborhoods can just be out there helping people and working together. And it's a great message to get out there, and we'll be a lot stronger for it. And we got a lot more things to look forward to, particularly in Plymouth, once we get through this with the 400 going to be happening later this year. So that's a great message to actually end on today.
And
I couldn't agree more.
Steve,
yes,
Can I make a comment?
go ahead.
The homeless folks and the food banks are going to be really important to support right now as well. You know, donating to either food or money to a food bank, because the food banks are going to be much more active, I'm sure, with unemployment and people being laid off and so forth. So the food banks, there are, you know, a number of them that people can support.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to just again, one more time, thank the panel. We had Dr. James Sorensen, who is now just about ready to call to order the school committee meeting that was regularly scheduled. He's the chair of the Plymouth School Committee. I'd like to thank Melissa Arrighi, our town manager. So glad she's safe, not with a large group of people, doing this remotely. I'd like to thank Representative Matthew Muratori, who is back again. He was here on Saturday. Thank you, Matt. Thanks to Kevin Canty, the chair of the Advisory and Finance Committee, and all the work that they do. Amy Naples, certainly now helping represent the business community. And thank you to the Committee of Precinct Chairs, Alan Costello, and all of the other members representing all those precincts for your willingness to help with this experiment, having you zoom in and stay zoomed with us as we conduct this meeting this evening. And unless there's anything else, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned at 6:53 p.m. Thanks to PACTV for all of your work. And good evening and good night.
Steve?